Hey everybody, welcome to today's show. My name's Jonathan. To your left, got two of our draft coordinators, two guys I really respect in this fantasy game, the Doc, Alec. What's up, guys?
How we doing?
What's up, Kamish?
Real good before we jump into this show, if you could hit that like and subscribe button. Also, just wanted to pass along, fresh dynasties are filling, and we got tons of orphan leagues that are going to be posted the next couple weeks. If you're looking at an easy way to get into one of our dynasty leagues, top of the homepage, you'll find the orphan link. Tons of teams posted. All right. Pass this on to you. Tell a little bit about today's show.
Yeah, so we're going to break down another team for you today, and we're doing our hometown Cleveland Browns. So I think we're all excited that for the first time in a while, continuity is a big word going into the next year. Obviously, Baker Mayfield coming off his best year of his career. We got, hopefully, Odell Beckham back, Jarvis Landry back, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Austin Hooper. A lot of playmakers on offense. Let's start off with Baker. The Doc, how you feeling about Baker Mayfield?
I feel really good about Baker Mayfield. Yeah, he really came on strong down the stretch last year without Odell Beckham, actually, which is the most interesting thing. He really came alive, started taking care of the football, and you know he became the Baker Mayfield that we saw in college and in his rookie year again. So that's really exciting going forward. And this is the first time going into his second season that he'll actually have the same offensive coordinator / head coach as he had the year before. So that's exciting for him. Again, continuity, a big thing there. So hopefully they can continue to build on it. And, you know, hopefully getting Odell Beckham back in the mix, and a non-COVID offseason will kind of help, you know, tighten up any of those loose pieces in the offense at this point. And then I think, you know, sky's the limit for Baker. I really think he's got top 10 potential this season. You know, the only question mark will be how much he'll throw it because of how good the running game is.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the top 10 potential ties in with him being a really good deal in dynasty drafts right now. We've ran a few already this year. If you watch any of those shows, I've been calling him a sleeper.
Yeah.
He's like,
He's a bargain.
yeah, 16th,
Oh, yeah.
17th quarterback off the board, you know, in between rounds 10 and 12. A ton of upside there. And I think you nailed it. You know, that first season and then last year, we got a glimpse of what Baker Mayfield can
Right.
be. And I was a little off the Baker Mayfield train. Now I'm kind of looking back on it. Maybe it was a sophomore slump. And I do think the potential's there for Baker. And I'm so excited for this offense and Baker Mayfield.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So I guess we'll go to the running back room, which I think we all can agree is really the strength of the team.
Right.
I truly don't think you can find another tandem better, and I don't even think it's close. I mean, Nick
Yeah.
Chubb is phenomenal. Kareem Hunt is fantastic himself. I mean, what Kareem Hunt did in Kansas City was, you know, crazy from his rookie year on, and then joining a guy like Nick Chubb in Cleveland, it's special. On top of that, the offensive line is back, so that just increases the value for both guys. But
Yep.
it's tough. I know you've been on record saying that, you know, they really eat into each other's upside, and it's kind of tough from a fantasy perspective to be all in on a guy like Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt just because of the presence of the other. How you feeling about, you know, each of their own values and how they work against each other at this point?
I'm still concerned. And if I have to decide right now, if I'm a contender, I'd look to sell either one of them this year. And I love them both. Like one of my favorite stats growing up as a kid was, you know, back then it was only 3 teams had 2 1,000-yard rushers on the
Yeah.
same team in the same backfield. One of those was the Cleveland Browns with Kevin Mack and Ernest Biner. I grew up loving those two, so I really like to see this like part 2.0 of
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And I think they're great on the football field to have together. But like you said, they both cap each other's upside. And I just don't know how that, like, I don't think they're going to both stick around for the next 3 years. Do you guys?
So they're definitely both under contract, I think, for the next 2.
I
Or
thought
is it-
Hunt
I think
has
next
one
year's
more year.
Chubb's last year. I think
okay,
Chubb
so
has
Hunt has
an
one more
extra
year than Chubb.
Yeah.
Okay, because he got that 2-year extension last
Right,
year.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it from a different perspective, I feel like they actually did worse when it was only one of them, which is kind of strange. But at the same time, you're right. It's going to be capped to the point where neither of these guys are going to have like a Derrick Henry week where they're going to get like 30 carries, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like that's never going to happen unless they rip off like long runs, something like that. But at the same time, I feel like you can start both of these guys week in and week out. And if they're both playing, I mean, I feel like they're both like at minimum 15-point guys. So that's always kind of nice to know. Like when Nick Chubb was playing, like you trot Kareem Hunt out there, he's going to get you at least 15 points. And same for Nick Chubb. I mean, when he's out there, he's going to produce. So, yeah, again, even though it's kind of capped, you're never going to have those crazy games barring something, just like a freak long run or something like that. I do like, there's value in them right now. Maybe Chubb a little high, more so in Kareem at this point because he's still kind of being treated like, just a backup. Yeah.
Right.
And, I mean, like I said, he's going to produce. He's going to give you like 12, 15 points every single week, sometimes more. And we've seen it's not like consistent either with Chubb in the red zone or anything like that. Like Kareem's gotten plenty of goal line carries too. So it seems like Kevin Stefanski likes to get both of these guys involved a lot. And, I can't really blame them because they're both, like we said, excellent talents. And I think it's worth holding on to them and just trying to get whatever juice out of them that you can.
Yeah. I just think it sucks because I think both of them are capable of Derrick Henry type numbers.
And I agree with you.
We're just never going to see it. I think the best thing we could possibly see would both of them be to join that list and both just barely crack 1,000, split touchdowns. I mean, I do think they're both great running backs. I'd just love to see them with their own backfield.
Right. Well, think about Nick Chubb 2 years ago with a way worse offensive line before Kareem Hunt came back from suspension. I mean, he was leading the league in rushing for most of that season.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, they're capable of it. But, yeah, again, they kind of cap each other in that regard. But, they'll still produce, which is at least good. It's not like they're killing each other's value.
Right. And I'd just say if I'm a contender, I'd look to trade – some of these dynasty drafts we're seeing, like Zeke Elliott, slip all the way to the third round.
Whoa.
And that's just me personally. I know, shocking, man. 2 of them in a row. He's been in the third round. I just scratching my head about that a little bit.
I've seen it too, even on other
Yeah.
fantasy websites.
I mean, just for me personally, if I'm trying to win this year, I'd rather have like a Zeke. Even though a lot of people think Pollard's going to push, I personally don't.
Yeah, I don't see him pushing. Not like Kareem Hunt.
Yes, now we'll go over to the receiver room. We got obviously the 2 LSU guys as the top 2 dogs with Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry. We'll start with Odell. Obviously, the injuries the past couple of years have really taken a toll. And just, has never really had that chemistry with Baker for any type of consistency stretch of time. But do we think this is the year that it all clicks?
Yeah, I really do. And again, this could just be me being a homer, but I think Odell has kind of bought in. I think he saw what Baker did when he was out, and I think he realizes too, if he just kind of takes a step back, the offense will naturally come to him. I always talk about that Dallas game where, he did the most with his touches. I mean, he had 3 touchdowns that game. And, I think he can still put up games like that in this offense. As much as we were good at running the ball, the Browns still threw the ball quite a bit down the stretch and into the playoffs as well. So, I mean, Odell's going to get plenty of opportunities, and, I think he wants to win, which I think that kind of benefits him too, because I think he's more likely to just buy in, lock into the system. There's always going to be buzz about him getting traded and all that stuff too. So I think if he blocks out that noise, an off season where he's actually able to kind of work with Baker and work on that chemistry, I think that'll be huge for him, and I expect a big bounce back season because at this point it's just him staying healthy too. Because 2 years ago when he played 16 games, I mean, he had over 1,000 yards. It wasn't pretty, but he had over 1,000 yards, and he was hurt the whole year. So if he can stay healthy for 16 games, I feel really good about his prospects going forward this season.
Yeah, another guy I think's been a steal in dynasty drafts. I mean, Odell's been slipping all the way down to like the 6th round quite a bit. I do fear that we've probably seen the best Odell we're ever going to see in the NFL.
Yeah.
But I think what you're speaking on is maturity, which is really good to see out of Odell Beckham. I mean, a little older now, a little more mature. I mean, the last thing we want to see is him being like a troublemaker on the sideline.
Right.
Yeah.
But I do think here's a guy definitely capable of, 1,000+ yards, 8+ touchdowns, maybe even a little bit more next year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I completely agree. And just kind of speaking on, the attitude and stuff a little more, I think a lot of guys have this idea of Odell that, that he's selfish, wants the ball, a little, diva receiver. But I think the truth is winning does solve everything. And Odell has always been about winning. And now that the Browns actually, were a playoff team last year, have this chemistry and are a winning football team, he's going to be bought in. He's going to be excited.
Exactly.
He's going to be happy for his brothers when they make plays. And I think it's going to finally flow. I just think it was, the losing and the frustration that created all the problems the last couple of years. It wasn't him not getting the targets or anything like that. It was really, just the frustration when in reality winning solves everything.
Yeah,
All right. And for some
absolutely.
reason, I think having Landry there like helps him, knowing that
Oh,
they're
yeah.
college
Definitely.
teammates.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to. I just think it helped in his maturity, helped him
yeah,
like rooting
yeah.
for the other guys on the team. And I do think one of the things that's really going to help Odell this year is, the stories that kind of started going around last year that the Browns looked better without him.
Yeah.
I don't think that's something he ever
Right.
experienced or, and they kind of did,
Yeah.
but I don't think
Yeah.
they were actually better without
Right.
him.
Right.
Exactly.
They
I
got
think-
in a groove right
Yeah.
after he got hurt, but that's not because they're a better team without him. I mean, this guy's next level talent. Obviously, they're better
Right.
with him on the field.
Yeah, and you could argue that Baker, wasn't forcing it to anybody when Odell wasn't out there because there wasn't anybody like Odell out there, which is a good thing. So he got to just kind of go through his reads and make smart throws. He didn't have to force anything. And I think going forward, he's going to keep that mentality, and Odell's going to, benefit from that instead of getting just forced targets that aren't really, good for him.
Agreed. And I think one more thing that really helps with that relationship between Baker and Odell is the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
I think Baker can stand in the huddle, look these guys in the eye, and
Yeah.
be the leader of the team this
Right.
year. And I think that's going to help with, his relationship with Odell on the field, off the field as well.
Completely agree. Yeah, so we'll hop into a couple of the other receivers. Obviously, Jarvis Landry has just been a PPR, steady, reliable guy for years now. Do we think that changes this year at all? Or the
I
same?
actually think he's going to have a huge season.
Ooh, love it.
I think he'll be the number one receiver fantasy-wise on the Browns. Not only is having Odell back a huge point of emphasis for me in this take, but I also think, last year he was coming off a big hip surgery. That's a long, tough injury to come back from. And, it was still something that, he would rest a lot too going throughout the season. I think, another off season to get healthy, fully healthy, full training camp, all that good stuff. I think him and Baker are going to be clicking, and he's going to benefit from Odell being back on the field, drawing a little more attention. So I think he's poised to have maybe even his best season as a pro.
So I actually love that because I completely agree. I think having Odell on the field actually just opens up a ton underneath for Jarvis. And as you mentioned, the hip injury, a year ago and all that. I actually think one of the things that's not talked about enough is, I don't know if it was about week 4, week 5, he cracked a rib in that Colts game.
Right,
And,
yeah.
he's tough as nails, so he played through it. And obviously, I mean, that was bothering him and limiting him.
Yeah.
But, nobody really, gave him credit for that.
Yeah.
And, had he not been playing with a broken rib, he probably would have been even better last year. And so
Yeah.
Getting healthy this year, I think, it's going to be a great year for Jarvis.
Yeah, I like the take. And we've been saying for a couple years that we thought Jarvis Landry was a better draft day value than Odell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even when Odell was going in the second, third, Jarvis kind of the 6th, 7th. They're a little closer now. I'd still probably go with Jarvis.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, and then so the next two receivers, Higgins last year was kind of that, de facto 3 who jumped up to almost the 1 even when Odell went out. But right now isn't under contract, but there's, we think he could get re-signed here in the coming days. So we won't talk about him a ton, but Donovan Peoples-Jones was the rookie last year who,
Right.
Really made some plays, had a couple long touchdowns like that Tennessee game, showed the potential. So how are we feeling about Peoples-Jones is kind of like a deep stash in Dynasty leagues.
I think it's worth holding on to just with, again, especially if they don't re-sign Higgins, with all the rumors about Odell as well, and having all that money tied into wide receiver, you wonder how long the Browns will hold on to both Odell and Jarvis at their current values. I think if you got a spot, it's worth a stash on Donovan Peoples-Jones. And again, Odell's not been known to be the most healthy guy either. So in the event that he does get banged up again throughout the season, Donovan Peoples-Jones, again, especially if Higgins doesn't re-sign, all of a sudden has himself a nice big workload. So, yeah, I think it's definitely worth stashing him if you've got the room.
It's a tough stash. So many
Yeah.
mouths to feed on that
So
Cleveland
many,
offense. I just want to throw, because John Beese always says, he was the number 1 high school recruit, wasn't he, at wide receiver?
Yeah, he was a 5-star.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen flashes of what he can do. Just so many mouths to feed.
Yeah.
I don't really know how you stash him,
Yeah.
but
Right. You'd really have to have the space for it. And another guy, too, if they don't sign Rashard Higgins, keep an eye on Cadero Hodge. I mean, Baker had some pretty good chemistry with him as well. He battled injuries last year, but, I mean, he looks pretty good when he's on the field. Again, similar to Donovan Peoples-Jones, I don't know how much he's going to actually touch the ball, but, again, anything could happen in terms of injury and things like that, and they would kind of slide into a great role.
yeah, but I do look at him like a guy, and they're not similar at all, but like McCole Hardman. I mean, here's a guy that he's just so far down the depth chart there.
Yeah.
But there's also like a clear path for him to be
Right.
a possible stud one day. And I think you
Exactly,
could see
yeah.
that in Peoples-Jones.
Yeah.
And so it's tough. I don't really know what to tell to hold or
Yeah.
it's tough.
Yeah.
I like that take though.
Yeah.
It's very similar. Like you can definitely see the value in him, but at this point, if everything stays the way it is, he's not going to do anything.
It's tough. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll wrap this up with probably Coach Stefanski's favorite position. That's the tight end room. I mean, Austin
Yes.
Hooper got signed to a big contract last year. Had a pretty good first year in Cleveland, but wasn't amazing from a fantasy perspective. But
I was disappointed.
yeah, and he was coming off that big year in Atlanta. But I'm excited about Hooper in year 2. I think you're going to see the same. What he did last year is kind of his floor, I think, in Cleveland. And I think he's going to be a little bit better this year. And Harrison Bryant could step up in year 2 as well. And Njoku could be traded, could have another year, be a splash play guy. How you feeling about the tight end room?
I think Hooper's going to be a lot more consistent this year. I'm not saying he's going to be a top 5 tight end or anything. I won't guarantee that. I do think he's going to be a much more consistent, whereas last year he was touchdown dependent at times. And then towards the end of the year, I feel like it got a little more consistent as well. I think this is another guy that benefits from having Odell back. And again, this is a guy that battled injuries last year. He had his appendix out last year. So again, not the ideal situation for Hooper last year, but again, you saw flashes at times of what he could do in this offense. And, I think he's going to be a lot more worth his price this year than he was last season.
Yeah, and not to sit here and talk bad about the guy. I think that's what kind of threw me off on him. Coming into Cleveland last year as the highest paid tight end in the league.
Yeah.
I was just kind of expecting a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, clearly, so many mouths to feed. So
Yeah.
I mean, what can you really expect?
Yeah, and again, he struggled to stay on the field last year. But again, another year in the system, another year with Baker, Odell taking away more. I mean, I think he'll be a lot better this year. And again, I just hope he stays healthy.
Yeah, and he's another guy that's, fallen down draft boards quite a bit if you go, last year at this time to this year. So, possibly
Right.
another value there, too.
I think he's got more talent and upside than a lot of the other tight ends that are probably being drafted around the same spot, though. So it's worth it in that regard.
I agree. I feel like there's almost no way he cracks the top 5 tight ends, but almost a guarantee he's somewhere in that 12 to 6 range.
Yeah. I'd be kind of shocked if he was outside of the top 10.
Yeah. I like it.
All right, I think that's about everything on the Cleveland Browns offense. Obviously, Rashard Higgins is kind of the only potential domino that could fall, but I think all in all, we're feeling pretty good about the group. A lot of upside, a lot of value in guys like Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Baker Mayfield. So
Yeah, and behind maybe the best offensive line in football.
that might be the most important thing that we don't even talk about here because they don't score fantasy points.
Exactly.
Usually.
Yeah, but that's what's making everything go right now. So, but yeah, anything else you guys want to add?
Nope, that's it. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. If you could hit the like and subscribe button. Until next time, that's all we got.